So yesterday we went over the top 5 worst Ashes of War. Now today we're going to talk about the more underrated Ashes in the game. Let me know down below if you want to see like a top 5 best or top 10 best Ashes in the game. Just let me know in the comments. But for today, the criteria is just talking about things that are underrepresented in the community. I went through like a bunch of different like tier list videos of other creators and try and figure out what should actually be represented a bit more in terms of these Ash of War options. But yeah, with that out of the way, please do like and subscribe. And then by the time this video is out, I should be live on Twitch. Probably going to be doing like a great hammer tier list today. We'll see. Starting off at number 5, we have Eruption, which is a fire-based Ash of War, which for 14 FP does this really good slamming attack. And when you actually release it, it actually does leave this pool of lava on the ground, which does an enormous amount of damage. And obviously lava ticks for a decent amount, does decent stagger and partial damage on top of that as well. But the best thing about this Ash of War is that it does get a good amount of hyper armor and it has decent tracking as well. So you can like trade out with a bunch of different enemies using this thing. As you can see in the gameplay right now, enemies are just getting melted by this thing. Definitely don't know why it's not really used that often. You can only really use it on like heavier based options. It's like larger weapons like colossal swords, colossal weapons, axes and hammers. But any single time that I actually get a chance to use this thing with a larger weapon, I definitely recommend doing it because it is really, really good. Number 4, Vacuum Slice. Now this is a quality based Ash of War, which for 14 FP does this cool projectile attack, which is very similar to something like the Corpse Wax Cutter or the Blasphemous Blade Ash of War Taker's Flame. Now, it can be directly outclassed by those two, but however, this one is the only one that actually can be infused onto other weapons. So if you want to use it with like colossal swords or straight swords or whatnot, you can actually do that. So it makes it a very decent option if you're going to go with like a strength-based build with like the great sword and you want a projectile as well. This is definitely really good because it does come out very, very quick, does very decent damage and decent stagger damage as well. And for only 14 FP, it's definitely worth it. You can just spam it over and over again. So if you're, once again, having a pure strength build and you're lacking a projectile option, Vacuum Slice is probably going to be your best option. Number 3, Spectral Lance. I have no idea why this is actually on a top 5 underrated list, but for whatever reason, every single time I look at other people's tier lists, this is just like lower on the list for whatever reason, and I don't know why. It's a projectile, so it's automatically good. Any type of projectile Ash War you can get is amazing. But this thing only consumes 9 FP, and it goes very, very far, especially if you pair it with the Arrow Reach Talisman, as it makes you go even further. And the amount of poise damage that it actually does do is actually insane. You can like, within a few hits, you can probably like stagger or posture break most bosses in this game. It's actually incredible. And it's a pretty quick cast as well. And for like 9 FP, you can spam it over and over again. Any single time that I'm going with like a polearm build, because you can only really use it with polearm weapons. But anytime I'm going like a polearm / an arcane type build, this one I'm just using every single time. Every single time. It's like what I always use when I have the Cross Naginata. It's like the only option that I ever use. Don't know why more people aren't using this thing. It's amazing. It even has like inherent tracking as well. So against like enemies that might be able to like move around, it actually does track, especially when you go like further distances with the Arrow Reach Talisman. So yeah, definitely an S tier Ash Warrior, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. Number 2, we have Prayerful Strike. Now this is a holy based Ash Warrior, but it doesn't actually do holy damage at all. So it's perfectly fine. But what this thing actually does do is do this pretty high damaging attack that does get a bunch of hyper armor. And it actually gives you a bunch of health back as well. It's actually 30% of your health with every single hit. And it's the weapon damage is actually scaled directly off your actual AR itself. So it doesn't actually have anything to do with like your faith stat or anything like that. So you can just go all into damage, use like a regular strength build, like a large colossal weapon like I have right now in the gameplay, and just trade out with enemies, and you just get like 30% of your health on every single hit. So against like bosses in this game, you can just keep spamming it over and over again. It does consume 20 FP, so it's not like the cheapest thing in the world, but you can pair it with Carrion Filigree Crest. Makes it a bit cheaper, but compared to a lot of other really good Ashes of War in the game, 20 FP is definitely worth it. And for 30% on every single hit with the amount of hyper armor you do get, definitely an S tier Ash of War. Number 1, Phantom Slash. I know I talk about this thing like all the fucking time. People still don't get it. Every single time I look at somebody's like tier list on an Ash of War, they always put this like in the C or the B tier, and I don't know why. It's like one of the best Ashes in the entire game. Definitely like top 10, probably even top 5 Ash in this game. It's that good. Basically, this thing does so much damage. You summoned out this like Phantom, right? Ends like obviously the Phantom is going to be guaranteed. Doesn't matter if you get staggered, the Phantom is guaranteed to come out, does a bunch of damage, good stagger and posture potential, and you get a follow-up attack on top of all of that. And it only costs 8 FP as well. And like, there's so much like utility with this Ash of War itself. You can actually like send the Phantom out and you can actually go in the other direction. So it's like a very risk-free Ash of War in most cases as well. It does have good coverage, so you can actually like, just dodge out of cover. So you can be like inherently a dodge, high damaging, good stagger potential, all that for only like 8 FP. And you can like buff your weapon with like something like Black Flame Blade, and that buff will actually inherently go into the Phantom itself and do that little bit of damage over time. It's just like there's so many positive things about this Ash Warrior, and I keep talking about it. I've made like 1,000 different videos on Phantom Slash. I don't know why more people aren't using this thing. Every single time I have like a scythe or like a halberd or anything like that, I'm always using Phantom Slash. It's a top tier Ash of War. But that concludes it for this one. As always, please do like and subscribe, and just let me know down below what type of top 5 you'd like to see next, or anything in general you'd like to see. Just let me know down in the comments. As always, please do like and subscribe, and do follow me on Twitch because I should be live by the time this video is out. And yeah, that's it, guys. See you in the next. Bye.